really excited because if you watch the show a couple of months ago, we had Kirt Manecke on to talk about Smile and Succeed for Teens, a great book that he had put out. And Kirt is someone who has an extensive career in sales, marketing, and fundraising, and business development. And what he did was take all the good skills that he know that make somebody successful, and he put it together in this book, Smile and Succeed for Teens, to talk about those old world skills, personal, social skills, we call them now, that make you successful. He put together that book for teens, and it was for neurotypical teens. But Temple Grandin found it, Dr. Temple Grandin, and said, this is a great book for all kids, including our kids that are on the autism spectrum. And when Kirt was with us last time, he was promising us that he was going to come out with a companion parent guide to go with the book. So you give the book to your teenager, you've got the companion guide, so that your child is reading things, you get sort of a synopsis of it, and then an exercise to do with them afterwards. It gives all of us the power to be a teacher. So Kirt has now done that. That's what I'm holding in my hands here, this wonderful book. This is the Parent's Guide, which is great. So Kirt, I've talked so much now, but Kirt, we welcome you back to the show, and congratulations for getting it done.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, and Shannon kind of went over in some ways why you did the Parent's Guide, but tell us from your perspective why you wrote it.
Well, it was funny because I never even thought about it, and Psych Central did an online review of the book, Smile and Succeed for Teens, and they said, it's a great book, but we can't expect all teens to do everything in the book. They said a parent's guide would be really helpful. So I thought, do I really want to write another book? Because it's a lot of work, as you know. So I was at a Future Horizons conference. They have Temple Grandin speaking, and they sell my books. So I was at the table, and I asked a number of parents. I said, would a parent's guide be helpful? And I had a little mock-up with me. And they all wanted to buy the mock-up. And I said, why would you want a parent's guide? And they said, well, it would make it really easy for us to help our kids without having to dig through the book. You'd have all the questions there ready for us. And after a number of parents said that, I thought, you know what, let me just go ahead and do that. So that was really the reason why. And I think it's helpful for parents to, role play some of the skills, interviewing, mock job interviews, overcoming stress, job skills with their kids, so the first time they try the skills is not in front of a customer. We used to do that when I had a retail store. We do a lot of role playing before the kids got into the real world.
Well, and you just brought up the job interview, and we want to know, tell us about your mock job interview and why you think it's so important.
That's a great question. The mock job interview is really important because if you send any teen or young adult into a job interview and they haven't role played this before, you're really setting them up for failure. So with the mock job interview, and I have it here, I'll look through it. With the mock job interview, you can actually ask them some common questions, such as, tell me about yourself. Or this other one, why do you want to work here? These common interview questions, which sometimes are not that effective at really hiring a good employee, but unfortunately, they're the questions that a lot of people still use today. So if you role play these skills with your son or your daughter and get them comfortable with them, then when they go into the interview, two things will happen. They'll have a little more confidence, they'll feel more comfortable, and they'll do a better job. They'll have a better chance at actually getting hired. They'll know the honest answers to give the interviewer.
Yeah, I just think this is all so smart, Kirt, because
Thank you.
For us, and Nancy and I were talking about this earlier, we had Joanne Lara on the show, who is the head of Autism Works now, and she is working.
Yes, I know who she is. Yes.
Yeah, she's working with adults who are on the autism spectrum to help give them skills. And one of the things that she said on the show recently, and I thought of you, Kirt, was that she said, unfortunately, with neurotypical kids, people go up to them when they're little and go, what job do you want to have? What do you want to be when you grow up, honey? And that's what they ask them. But for kids who are different, a lot of times they just say, well, aren't you cute, or aren't you smart, or aren't you whatever, and don't ask them those kinds of questions. So Joanne's having to do this kind of thing with adults. And she says, we got to start much earlier. We got to start when they're 3. But absolutely, these teen years, where a lot of us don't know what to do. Our kids are on
Right.
the spectrum and we don't know where to start, and you've given us the manual.
How can it help those parents with kids with autism?
And that's a great question too. And let me back up just one second. And this is really for teens, tweens, and young adults, so it's very good for any age. I actually took the teaching guide that I had and took 4 months and transferred some of the information to the parents guide. But as far as helping kids with autism, there's a whole section on overcoming stress, which is really important. It gives them some things that they may have thought of. There's a whole section on creating your own job. If, maybe mowing the lawns or helping organize garage sales, there's different things kids can do that they may not have thought of. But most importantly, a parent can role play a lot of these important skills with their son or daughter, just like I did when I had our retail store. You role play, for instance, in the book, a customer walks into your store. What do you do? Or a customer walks into your store, you're already with another customer and you're the only one on the sales floor. What do? You know to ignore that person. You say, hi, how are you? I'll be with you in a minute. Or when somebody walks in your store, it teaches them to smile and say hello and greet that customer and have a warm smile. And that's so critical. I was just in 2 stores Sunday. One just opened up. They totally ignored the customers that were walking in. So you have to create a powerful first impression. And there are a lot of job role-playing skills in this parents guide to prepare the individual with autism for success, so the employer's happy and the customers are happy.
See, this is one of the many reasons why I love Kirt, because Kirt is an expert in customer service, and I'm all about good customer service. I can't stand bad customer service. And
I'm the same.
Right? And this is why you speak my language, Kirt.
Tell us about the how to be a mystery shopper worksheet.
That's a really fun exercise. And when I was helping some kids at the local Northville Farmers Market through Living and Learning, it's a great center in Northville for helping kids with job skills. They asked me to come, and I was trying to help the kids with greeting customers that were coming up to the farm market table. And a special education teacher, who's much smarter than I am, said, why don't you just take them around, walk them around, and show them bad examples of people on their cell phones that aren't greeting customers and good examples. So we did that. And the mystery shopper experience is the same thing. They actually learn the skills in Smile and Succeed for Teens, practice them with their parents, but then they can take the mystery shopper sheet, go into a restaurant or a store, maybe with their family or on their own, and notice, did that person smile and say hello as soon as we walked in? How did they engage us? Were they friendly? Were they helpful? There's a number of items in this, and it's kind of a fun exercise, but it really gives the teen or tween or young adult the chance to see good customer service, and then talk with their parents when they come back and discuss ways that the restaurant or service business or any other type of business could have used some of the skills in the book to be better. Did they say please and thank you? Were their electronics off? Did that salesperson make good eye contact with them? And I'm reading some things right from the book. Did they acknowledge new people when they walked in, maybe right at the front of the restaurant, or did they ignore them? So a lot of things that they'll notice will help them see in the real world how these skills are critical. I mean, these are the soft skills. They're the number one skill that employers look for when hiring, and that's right. That's according to Harvard University.
And so what's your hope then for how this will help individuals who are on the autism spectrum to get and keep a job?
My hope is that they learn the skills that a lot of neurotypical kids and adults don't have, which are soft skills, and they learn these little skills that maybe people don't think are that important. They're not technical skills, they're just soft skills, they're the social skills. And that employer says, boy, I want to keep this kid around forever, and the customers are happy. And I'll give you a quick story. A friend of mine, he lives in Indiana, and his son read the book. And Rick told me his son is the only employee at the men's clothing store that the owner said to him, you can set your own schedule. You can come back every year because you treat customers exactly how we want them treated. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. If the kids can master some of these skills, they don't have to master all of them. It's just some of them. They will be the best employee. Because I tell you what, I go in a lot of these businesses where kids are working. I don't blame the kids. the store didn't train them or the business didn't train them. The parents haven't trained them. They just threw them right on the sales floor or, in the grocery store without any training. They're shy. I was at that age. So if you train them, they'll be so much better than a lot of the neurotypical kids that are out there. Because I'll tell you what, as you know, Shannon, you and I do speak the same language. It's really bad out there.
It is bad out there.
It's terrible.
And this is a way that we can give our kids a leg up. I want to tell just a brief story of in the grocery store that is by us since before my son was born. There is a young man who started working there who has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And clearly our kids and kids with different abilities, I will say this, one of the things that they tend to be, not all kids, but they are rule governed.
Right.
And this young man, I think it was his grandmother who taught him day in and day out the rules of good customer service. So when he was 16 years old, he got a job at our grocery store and he was rule governed, and that he had to say hello to everybody. Mm-hmm. And he was Mr. Polite, and everyone loved coming to the grocery store and interacting with him. And he continued to learn the rules of the store. He's the assistant manager of our store now.
Really?
And it's because he knew these skills, that he is a very treasured employee there, and he is the assistant manager. And I think that these are the skills that are super duper important. And I think that the parents guide, what I love is that the Smile and Succeed for Teens, it's got a lot of drawings in it and cartoons, right, and things that makes it really easy for them to understand. But then you get the parents guide, and as you said, it prevents us from having to read verbatim word for word and then come up with questions, because I don't have the time or energy. Mm-hmm. And I love that I mentioned to you during a break, Kirt, that I gave the book, the first book, to my son, and I said, pick a topic. And he wanted to read about stress. Uh-huh. And then he was reading all of it, and we were having a conversation. And then I went to the parents guide, and it had this wonderful checklist for me to talk about with him about, do you use these techniques? Have you tried them? Are you willing to try them? And we both did it. And it was really fascinating to me, because Jem was saying to me, when we got to one where one of the suggestions you make is you can use humor to help with stress. And my son started to laugh, and he said, well, Mom, you definitely do that one. He's like, you're queen of that one. But we talked about, does it work? And he said, well, in some certain circumstances that it does. But then we talked about which circumstances other one. It was a great conversation.
That is so nice to hear. I use some of those skills. I was thinking a couple of days ago, I was a little stressed out. I was overworked, and I thought of the parents guide. I thought, okay, just, have a good sense of humor. You can laugh at life a little bit. I love your story that you gave me chills with the story about the gentleman at the grocery store. And that's what I'm talking about. When you say thank you, the employee will learn from the parents guide and the book to say you're welcome. Not yep, not no problem, not have a good one, which happened to me just 2 days ago at the pizza place. I said, thank you. The kid behind the counter, have a good one. That's not going to bring anybody back. You want to say you're welcome. So exactly what you said, the old-fashioned skills, and that's what I'm talking about. It's nothing really that technical. It's pretty easy, pretty simple stuff.
And I think anytime we have an opportunity to give our kids a leg up, then they have a wonderful leg up. I think one of the things that individuals who have autism, they tend to be the politest people, yes, I have ever met. And you know why? Because they're rule governed. Right. And the rule was given to them, you must be polite, and you must, so why not give them even more of those rules in a very fun format, so that when they're going to the job interview, what if our kids were at the front of the line instead of the back of the line? Yes. And I think this has the ability to help us to do that.
Thank you. I that's why I wrote it. I really thought, let's give these kids, like you said, a leg up, and let's quit throwing them into these situations where any kid, neurotypical or with autism, is prone to fail. Adults too. If you don't practice this, chances are you're not going to really shine during that interview. And the other thing that's in here that a lot of parents like is the social media etiquette.
I was just going to ask you about the social media, because you devote a chapter to that.
Yeah, so that's really important. I see this all the time. I look at a lot of Facebook pages, and people put the teens in charge of their business Facebook page. They'll say, oh, social media, can you be in charge of the page? And you'll see these people, these customers comment, and they'll say, "Oh, I'd like to buy that wedding dress you have. Do you have it in stock?" And there'll be no comment back. There'll be no thank you. So these kids, or it'll be really bad grammar. There'll be a lot of misspellings. So this teaches them how to effectively write an email, how to effectively write a text message, how to reply in social media, and a lot of social media etiquette as far as always be nice. Don't waste your life on the electronics. There's a whole chart in there on social media etiquette, kind of a fun chart with little screens on it. So
I've got it right here.
good.
And Nancy and I were looking at this beforehand because I'm thinking about a story in the news recently of a bunch of kids that got accepted to, I think it was Harvard, and that they posted some things on social media, and now they have been disinvited to Harvard.
That's right.
And I'm sure that their parents wish that they had given this sheet to those kids. Can you imagine what they must have done to get their kids to the point where Harvard accepted them, and they're out over a Facebook post?
Right.
A really horrible Facebook post. So more things are wrong than just this, but this would have helped. But this is really useful for everyone, and I think it's great for our kids that are on the autism spectrum.
That's useful for adults too.
I think that there's one here that you can see: don't post when you're angry. I wish I could give a whole lot of people that.
Yes, that especially in today's environment.
Right. There's so many things in here that are really, really useful. So now tell our parents, where can they get this?
Oh, you can either go to my website, www.smilethebook.com, or both the Parent's Guide for Smile and Succeed for Teens and the book Smile and Succeed for Teens are available on Amazon. If you want to buy both, what I don't want people to do is buy the Parent's Guide and get disappointed. To use the Parent's Guide, you also need the book Smile and Succeed for Teens. They work in conjunction.
A very good point. But it's a great thing to be doing this summer. Get both of them. Give the one to your teen. Have the Parent's Guide for yourself. I also want to point out that one of the things you say about the Master Your Electronic Etiquette is creating a contract with your teen about their cell phone, and you give a link to be able to download one for free. There's so many great things in here. You've done a really great job, and we're thrilled to have you here with us to share this with our parents.
Thank you so much, Shannon and Nancy. It was a pleasure to talk to you again.
Well, we can't wait to see what you come out with next, Kirt.